All right, today we're going to be looking over the distributive laws, and this is page 22 on your notes. So this is one of our algebra topics. So we're going to look at how to multiply something that has a plus or a minus sign to it. So if we look at this example here, we'll see a plus or a minus here. And what we do is we take this a, and it has to multiply to everything in those parentheses. So we get a times b, and then we keep that plus sign, it stays there, and then we get a times c. So if it's a subtraction sign, it's really the same thing, it's just that the subtraction sign comes over. Now over here on the right, we see that it works exactly the same if the a is in the back. We don't typically write it that way, but you can distribute that as well. All right, so the first ones we're looking at are actually not distributive properties. So if you take a look here, these are what are called monomials. So if I look at these two pieces, notice that there are no plus or minus signs. So we've already done this. This is our law of operation, law of exponents, but this is not the distributive property. Okay, so just a reminder of what it doesn't look like before what it does look like. So we're supposed to multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. So sometimes on this we'll show a middle step. If you remember back to our exponent section, I'm going to pull off the coefficients, multiply those. I'm going to multiply the a's, I'm going to multiply the b's, and I'm going to multiply the c's. Now anywhere I don't see an exponent, if I want, I can put a 1. So that would be negative 21. I keep the a and I add the exponents. Keep the b, add the exponents. Keep the c, add the exponents. Now sometimes you can do this without showing the middle step. Okay, so I would think negative 5 times negative 2 would be positive 10. 10 to the 6th, x to the 6th times x squared would be x to the 8th. We're going to add those exponents. And then for the y's, I would get y to the 9th. Okay, so for the last one, I would do 2 times 4 to get 8. And then my x's, I would add those exponents, and I would get 8x to the 8th. So this is not distributive property because there are no plus or minuses. So if we move down to number 1, notice now we see this minus sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the 4 to everything in parentheses. I'm going to show a middle step, which you don't necessarily have to show. So I'm going to multiply the 4 times the x, and then minus the 4 times the 3. Okay, so I am taking that minus sign, and I'm just bringing it down right there. All right, so that would give me 4x minus 12. Okay, so if we try the next one, I have to be a little careful here because I am multiplying a negative. So that would be negative 8 times 3x. Then this plus sign is going to come down. But I'm multiplying negative 8 times 4y. And then the minus sign comes down. And I'm multiplying negative 8 times z. So that's going to be negative 24x. Now here when I multiply, I get a negative 32, so I'm just going to write that as minus 32y. Here I get minus a negative, that makes a plus, so plus 8z. So notice when you distribute the negative, it does change all your signs. Now if you don't like the middle step, you don't have to write it, so let's try that on number 3. I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, and I'm going to keep the m. Then when I get to my middle one, I'm multiplying negative 2 times negative 7. That is positive 14. Keep the n. And then negative 2 times positive 9 is negative 18. Keep the p. So that negative has to multiply all the way across. All right, so let's skip down to number 6. All right, so now we're multiplying an x. So I'm going to show a middle step on this one. So I'm going to multiply x to the 3x. I'm going to bring that plus sign down. And then I have to also multiply the x to the 7y. Now remember your laws of exponents. I multiply the coefficients, so I only have a 3, so I'm going to keep that. And then for the x's, I add the exponents. And then for this last piece, I'm just going to put that in alphabetical order, and that will be 7xy. Now notice once we get to here, if I look at these two terms, they are not similar, they're not like terms. So this is as far as I can go. I have to stop right here. They're not similar, so I can't add them together. All right, so let's take a look at number 7. I'm going to go back up to the top. All right, so once again, I'm going to show a middle step, and I'll start skipping the middle step here in a minute, and then you can decide how much work you want to show. So the 2a squared is going to multiply to the 4a to the third. This minus sign comes down. And then I'm also going to multiply the 2a squared to the 5a to the fourth. So some people need this middle step where we show this number being multiplied all the way across. If you can do it without writing the step, that's fine. So if I look at this first set, 2 times 4 is 8. For my exponents, I keep the a and I add the exponents. Bring down my minus, so 2 times 5 is 10. Add the exponents and I get a to the 6th. These are not similar, so that's where I have to stop. All right, so let's talk about not showing that step. If you get comfortable with this and you don't want to show the middle step, you still have to kind of group it in your mind. So I'm going to start by looking at these two. So I'm multiplying those together, and I'm thinking 9 times 4 is 36. For the a's, I'm going to add the exponent, so 1 plus 3 is 4. Then I do the same thing again. Let me switch colors, but now I'm multiplying the 9a to the negative 8. So 9 times negative 8 is negative 72. And I only have one a. I don't have any other a's, so that one just comes down. All right, these are not similar, so I stop here. All right, so here's an easy one. We're just multiplying by 6. So this one you can probably do without the middle step. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12, so notice that minus comes down, and we have to keep the x on the end. All right, so we'll try the last ones without the middle step. So here's where we're going to distribute. So I'm going to start with negative 4 times negative 3a squared. That makes negative 12. I add my exponents together, and I get a to the third. So then I move over to the second one. I'll try a different color. I'm going to do the 4a times the negative 7a. That's going to be negative 28. And then add those exponents to get a squared. Notice these are not similar. I can't put them together. That's as far as that goes. All right, so let's try this one. We're multiplying all of 5xy. This one's a little more complicated. So let's start by multiplying the 5xy to the first term. That's going to be negative 35 for my coefficients. And remember, these are ones. So for my x's, I'm doing 1 plus 2 to get an exponent of 3. Same for the y's. 1 plus 2 gives me an exponent of 3. So now I distribute the second time. Now I'm multiplying 5xy to positive 6x to the fourth y. So 5 times 6, that's going to be a positive 30, so that stays a plus. I keep the x and I add the exponents. I keep the y and I add the exponents. You can put a 1 there if you need to. All right, these don't match. They're not similar, so I stop there. All right, very last one. All right, we're going to distribute the 3x squared. So first it multiplies to the 4y. So 3 times 4 is 12. Notice I've got an x squared and a y. I'm just going to bring those down in alphabetical order. And then I move to the second one. So let's see, 3 times 6 will be positive 18. I have an x squared with another x, so I'm going to add those exponents and get x to the third. And then I also have a z, and I have to make sure to bring that one down as well. All right, these are not similar, so we stop there. All right, so that's your distributive property. You should be able to print the worksheet and get that completed.